Let me paint you a picture. You've worked 7 years. 7 brutal, exhausting, soul-grinding years, saving every dollar, skipping vacations, eating sad desk lunches, turning down every luxury, every impulse buy, every you-only-live-once moment your friends threw at you. You do all of that for one thing. One dream, one house. And then, one Tuesday morning, while you're thousands of miles away in a hotel room in Seattle closing a deal that's going to change your career, your phone buzzes. It's a notification from your bank. A wire transfer. A very large wire transfer. Out. Not in. Out. And just like that, your dream home, the one with the wraparound porch, the one you spent 3 months negotiating for, the one you had already mentally decorated down to the throw pillows in the living room, is gone to pay for my brother's 10-day luxury getaway to the Maldives, and the person who authorized that wire transfer, my own father. Pause. Stay with me. Because this story doesn't end in tears. It ends in something a whole lot sweeter. My name is Claire Whitmore. And before I tell you what happened, I need you to understand who I am. Not because I want to brag, but because the contrast between me and my brother, Brandon, is the only way this story makes any kind of sense. I grew up in a middle-class family in Hartford, Connecticut. My dad, Gerald, worked in insurance. My mom, Patricia, was a part-time bookkeeper. We weren't poor, but we weren't comfortable either. There was always that low hum of financial anxiety in our house, the kind that makes parents argue behind closed doors and makes kids learn to read the room before they even learn to read a book. I learned early. Too early. By the time I was 12, I understood that money was power. Not in a greedy way, in a survival way. I watched my mom clip coupons while my dad sighed at the electric bill. I watched them argue about Brandon's soccer camp fees. I watched them sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice. And I told myself, I will never feel that helpless. So, I worked. I got a scholarship to the University of Connecticut. I studied finance. I interned every summer, sometimes 2 internships at once. I graduated with honors and walked straight into a mid-level analyst position at a financial consulting firm in Boston. I drove a used Honda Civic for 5 years. I packed my lunch every single day. I had a budget spreadsheet I updated every Sunday night without fail. By the time I was 28, I had $180,000 saved. Brandon, on the other hand, sweet, charming, never met a consequence in his life Brandon, was 31 and still borrowing money from our parents to cover his rent in a 2-bedroom apartment he shared with 2 other guys. He'd started and abandoned 3 business ideas. He'd gotten out of a car loan my parents co-signed by. Having my parents pay it off, he went on trips. He bought gadgets. He lived the way he thought he deserved to live, regardless of whether he'd earned it. And my parents? They adored him, worshipped him, honestly. He was the golden boy, the funny one, the charming one, the one who could walk into a room and make everyone laugh. I was the responsible one, the serious one, the one they called when there was a problem to solve, the one they forgot to call when there was something to celebrate. I told myself it didn't bother me. I told myself a lot of things back then. I found the house on a Saturday morning in late February. I wasn't even officially looking yet. I was just browsing listings the way you browse a menu at a restaurant you're not quite ready to order from. And then I saw it. 34 Clover Lane, Wethersfield, Connecticut. A 1940s colonial, white with black shutters. A wraparound porch that looked like it had hosted 1,000 lazy summer evenings. A backyard with 2 enormous oak trees that had probably watched the entire 20th century unfold beneath their branches. Original hardwood floors. A fireplace in the living room. A kitchen that had been updated tastefully. Not overdone, not sterile, just warm and functional and right. I clicked through the photos 3 times. Then I texted my best friend, Joanna. "I think I just found my house," she texted back. "Send me the link right now." 15 minutes later, she called me. "Claire, that porch." "I know. You have to get it." "I know." The asking price was $385,000. After negotiations, I got it down to $367,000. I had $180,000 saved, and with a pre-approved mortgage, my monthly payments would be completely manageable given my salary, which had grown significantly since my promotion to senior consultant the year before. I put down $90,000, kept the rest in savings as a buffer, and signed the papers. Closing date, April 15th. I was 30 years old, and I was buying my dream home. That night, I sat in my apartment and cried. Not sad crying, the other kind. The kind that sneaks up on you when something you've been quietly aching for suddenly becomes real. I thought about all the Sunday night budget spreadsheets, all the skipped concerts and staycations, all the years of keeping my head down and doing the work, and I thought, it was worth it. Every single sacrifice was worth it. I called my parents to share the news. My dad said, "Good for you, Claire." Flat. Like I'd told him I finally cleaned out my gutters. My mom said, "Oh, that's nice, honey. Did you tell Brandon? He might want to come help you move in." I put my phone down and looked at the ceiling for a long time. Then I ordered takeout, poured myself a glass of wine, and decided that it didn't matter. The house was mine. The accomplishment was mine. I didn't need their enthusiasm to make it real. 3 weeks before my closing date, my firm sent me to Seattle. It wasn't optional. We had a major client, a regional healthcare network that was restructuring its entire financial operations, and I was the lead consultant on the account. My boss, Daniel, put it bluntly, "You need to be there in person. This is the kind of deal that falls apart over Zoom." He wasn't wrong. These things always do. I booked my flights, packed my suits, and told myself it would only be 2 weeks. I'd be back 5 days before closing. Plenty of time. I called my parents before I left, partly to check in, partly, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, hoping for a little encouragement. A good luck, honey. Something. My dad answered. "Hey, Dad. I'm heading to Seattle tomorrow. Big client meeting." "Oh, yeah? When are you back?" 2 weeks. Back on the 10th. Closing on the house is the 15th. Right. He paused. "Hey, listen. Brandon's been having a rough time lately. He and the guys were thinking about taking a trip. He could use the support." I blinked. "Okay, that sounds nice for him." "Yeah." Another pause. "Travel's expensive, though." I had an odd feeling then, like the air in the room had shifted slightly, but I dismissed it. "Well, I'm sure he'll figure it out. I have to finish packing, Dad. I'll call when I land." Sure. Travel safe." I hung up and finished packing, and I pushed that odd feeling somewhere deep down and left it there. I should have listened to it. Seattle was brutal in the best way. 14-hour days, breakfasts with department heads, dinner presentations, 3 rounds of revisions on the restructuring proposal. I barely saw the inside of my hotel room except to sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. I was good at this. It was the thing I was most proud of. Not just that I was smart, but that I could work. I could show up and deliver when the pressure was highest. That's not nothing. That's everything in my world. By day 9, I could feel the deal starting to solidify. The CFO of the healthcare network, a sharp woman named Margaret who I deeply respected, pulled me aside after a session and said, "Claire, I want you to know we're going with your firm. You've been extraordinary." I called Joanna that night, giddy and exhausted. We talked for an hour. I told her about the house, about how I couldn't wait to finally sleep in a bedroom that was mine, in a house that was mine, on a porch that was mine. The next morning, day 10 of the trip, I woke up at 6:14 a.m. to 3 things on my phone simultaneously. A bank alert, wire transfer of $90,000 processed from your account ending in 4471. A voicemail from my father. And a text from Brandon. "Thanks, sis. Maldives is gonna be epic." I sat up in bed. I read the bank alert again. $90,000. Gone. I pressed play on my father's voicemail. His voice was calm, almost cheerful. "Claire, it's Dad. Listen, I used that spare key you gave us, the one for emergencies, and I found your mortgage documents in your desk drawer. I needed to access your account information. I hope you understand, sweetheart. Brandon really needed this. You have money. He doesn't. Family helps family. We'll talk when you get back. Travel safe." I sat there in that Seattle hotel room for probably 4 minutes without moving, Just sat there, phone in my hand, the morning light coming through the curtains. Then I got up, splashed water on my face, looked at myself in the mirror, and made a decision. I was not going to panic. I was not going to fall apart. I was not going to call my father screaming, because I already knew something he didn't. And when the right moment came, I was going to use it. Here's the thing about being the responsible one, the financial one, the one no one really pays attention to at family dinners. People underestimate you. They see the spreadsheets and the budgeting and the discipline, and they think it makes you predictable. They think they know all your moves before you make them. My father thought he knew everything about my financial life because he'd found some mortgage paperwork in a desk drawer. He did not know about the second account. When I'd gotten my promotion 2 years earlier, my firm gave me a significant bonus, $95,000 after taxes. Everyone at the office talked about how they were going to spend theirs. Vacations, cars, kitchen renovations. I didn't say a word. I opened a new savings account at a different bank. Not the one my family knew about. Not the one linked to any account they'd ever seen. And I put that entire bonus into it, plus an additional $12,000 I'd been quietly setting aside over the following months. The account my father rated had $90,000 in it. The down payment I'd set aside for the house. My other account had $107,000 in it. More than enough to cover the down payment. The moment I read that bank alert in my hotel room, I called my mortgage broker, Rachel, and explained the situation. Quietly. Calmly. She was alarmed on my behalf. Theft of a down payment funds 2 weeks before closing is genuinely catastrophic for most buyers. Not for me. Rachel, I said, I have a second account. The full amount is there. Can we proceed with an alternate funding source for closing? A pause. Claire. Yes. We can absolutely do that. I'll need the new account information by end of day. You'll have it within the hour. Then I called a lawyer. A woman named Sandra Holt, whom I'd met at a networking event 2 years prior, and whose card I'd kept because something told me I might need her someday. I explained what had happened. She asked a few questions. Then she said, calm and professional, Claire, what your father did constitutes unauthorized access to your financial account and wire fraud. This is a criminal matter. I know, I said. How would you like to proceed? I thought about it for exactly 4 seconds. I want to give him one chance to make this right when I get home. If he doesn't take it, I want to pursue every legal option available to me. Understood. I'll start preparing. Then I went back to work, because I had a deal to close, and I was not going to let my father's stunt cost me that too. I flew home on the 10th, as planned. The closing was 5 days away. My lawyer had everything prepared. My mortgage was secured from my second account. The house was still mine. I drove directly from the airport to my parents' house in Hartford. It was a Sunday evening. The lights were on. I could see the blue flicker of the television through the living room window. I knocked on the door. My dad opened it. He looked fine, comfortable. He was in his weekend clothes, a beer in his hand. He stepped back to let me in, and the first thing he said, I want you to hear this, because I need you to understand exactly the kind of man I was dealing with. The very first thing he said was, "Your house paid for their fun." And he smirked. He actually smirked, like this was a punchline he'd been saving up for 2 weeks. My mom was in the armchair across the room. She didn't say anything. She didn't meet my eyes. I stood there, bag still in my hand, jet-lagged and exhausted and completely, utterly calm, and I smiled back at him. His smirk faltered, just slightly, just enough. "Why are you so calm?" he said. The edge in his voice had shifted. Not quite confusion yet, but something close to it. "We expected you to be upset. We thought you'd come in here." "Because the house you sold," I said quietly, "wasn't the house I'm buying." He blinked. "What?" "The account you accessed. You found the paperwork for one account, Dad. My down payment account. The one you wired the money from." I set my bags down. "But that money was already moved 2 days before you found it. I moved it as a precaution after you made that strange comment about Brandon needing help before I left. The $90,000 you sent to Brandon came from an account that I had already written off." This was not entirely true. I'll be honest with you. I had not actually moved it in advance, but I had replaced it immediately from my second account, and legally, It made very little difference. The house was closing on schedule. The money was covered, and I needed him to understand that his move had been outmaneuvered before it was even fully played. "I don't understand," he said. His beer hand had lowered. "You're saying—" "I'm saying the house is still mine, Dad. Closing is Friday, and the $90,000 that you wired to Brandon, that came from a real account, with real money, that you accessed without my permission. That is wire fraud. I've already spoken to a lawyer." The room went very, very quiet. My mom made a small sound, something between a gasp and a sob. My father's face went through about 6 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, disbelief, a flash of anger, then something I had never in 30 years seen on my father's face: fear. "Claire." His voice had changed completely. "Now listen. I'm not here to argue, Dad. I'm here to give you one option." I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope Sandra had prepared. "Brandon repays the $90,000 in full within 30 days. With interest, 5%. That's the market rate, and frankly, it's generous. In exchange, I don't press charges and this stays in the family. That's the only offer on the table." "You can't be serious," he said. "He's your brother. We're your family." "Family," I said. "Helps family. That's what you told me, right?" On the voicemail, I tilted my head. "So, help me." I put the envelope on the coffee table. I picked up my bags, and I walked out the door. Closing day was a Friday. April 15th, the sky was that particular shade of blue that only happens in Connecticut in spring, the kind that makes you feel like the world is quietly rooting for you. Joanna came with me. She sat in the parking lot outside the title company and let me cry for exactly 2 minutes before handing me a granola bar and saying, "Okay, you ready to go own a house?" I was. I signed my name approximately 47 times. I shook hands with Rachel, my mortgage broker, who gave me a look that said, "I don't know what you went through, but I'm glad you came out the other side." And then someone handed me a set of keys. 2 keys. Silver. On a plain ring. I held them in my palm for a moment, and then I drove to 34 Clover Lane. I sat on that wraparound porch for a long time, just me and the oak trees in the spring afternoon, and the particular silence of a house that is finally, truly yours. Brandon called 3 times that week. I didn't answer. My mother called once. I picked up. She cried and said she was sorry and that my father hadn't meant for it to go this far and that she'd tried to talk him out of it. "Mom," I said gently, "what happened isn't something you get to undo with a phone call. But I love you, and if you want a relationship with me, you know where I stand." She said she understood. My father did not call. Not that week. Not for 3 weeks after that. And then, on a Wednesday evening while I was painting the living room, I'd chosen a soft sage green, if you want to know, my phone buzzed. A wire transfer notification. $94,500 deposited into my account, ending in 4471. No note, no message, just the money. I set down my paint roller, looked at my phone, looked at the half-painted wall around me. Then I went back to painting. It's been 8 months since I closed on 34 Clover Lane. The porch looks exactly how I always imagined it. I have a swing out there now and a big pot of hydrangeas, and on Sunday evenings when the light goes golden, I take my coffee out there and just exist. Without a budget spreadsheet, without a goal to chase, without anything to prove. I see my mother occasionally. Things are careful between us. Polite, a little bruised. But she came to see the house in July, and when she walked through the front door and saw what I'd done with the place, she started crying. Not the sad kind, the other kind. "I'm proud of you, Claire," she said. It was the first time she'd ever said those exact words to me. My father and I haven't spoken. I don't know if we will. There's a particular kind of grief that comes with realizing a parent never really saw you. Not for who you were, but for the role you were assigned. The responsible one, the capable one, the one who would always figure it out, so you didn't have to worry about her. I'm done performing that role. Brandon, to his credit, did repay the money. I don't know how, I didn't ask, and I don't care to know. He sent a text when the wire went through that said simply, "I'm sorry, Claire. I mean it." I read it twice. Then I put my phone in my pocket and went back to planting hydrangeas. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Not as a lesson, because I hate when people do that, wrap their pain up in a bow and call it wisdom. I just want you to hear this as one person talking to another. The people who love you should see you, not just the way you're useful to them, not just your capacity to handle things and absorb things and recover from things. You, your dreams, your effort, the quiet, private ways you work towards something good. If they don't, you are allowed to grieve that. You are allowed to be angry. And you are absolutely, entirely, completely allowed to close the door on what they did and walk through the one that leads to your wraparound porch. The keys, after all, are yours. They've always been yours. If you made it to the end of this story, thank you, genuinely. If you've ever been the responsible one, the capable one, the one who keeps getting overlooked because everyone assumes you'll be fine, this was for you. Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if this story moved you, share it, because someone in your life probably needs to hear it today. See you in the next one.